Ladies and gentlemen, we've just finished watching the last two episodes of House of David, David v Goliath, part 1 and 2. And we're going to get into our thoughts in regards to what we thought of those episodes. It will be interesting. So we're going to get into all of that shortly. But before we do, hi guys, my name is Chin. This is my co-host Nick, and this is Offbeat POV. We're Christians and we just love having discussions about what's going on in the world, what's trending, and pop culture in general from a Christian point of view, with Christian principles, biblical truths, and Christian understanding of how things are meant to be. If that sounds interesting, you should definitely consider subscribing. But if you're just here for the House of David review, then let's definitely get into that. Okie dokie. So, David v Goliath parts 1 and 2. The part 2 just aired today. We've just finished watching both parts 1 and 2 because we decided to just binge watch them. Because we just decided to wait and binge watch them so that we get the full experience. So, I guess maybe let's start with initial thoughts, just general initial thoughts, and then we'll break it down, go into the moments that stood out, any noteworthy moments, and then we'll round off with overall. And then we'll round off with overall thoughts on the whole series, I guess, because this does bring the series to the end. Initial thoughts then in regards to House of David, David v Goliath, parts 1 and 2.
Absolutely hated it.
Hated it?
Absolutely hated it.
Wow, okay.
I was fighting with sleep throughout the whole episodes that we watched until the last, I would say, from the time that David arrived at the battlefield, that for me saved my hours of watching the second half of this series, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Absolutely waste of time, absolutely useless. I've been seeing people having like strong opinions about the fact that, oh, this is not the David, and up until the first half of the series, I was you know me, you know, I was like, no, come on, let's be fair. I cannot see anything that added to the story that we know, or that needed to be present in the series, that contributed to even the in between the lines of the story that we know. Does that make sense? So let's include creative what do we call it? Liberties, right? 95% of the creative liberties that we got in these last 2 episodes, the last 3 episodes, in my opinion, didn't need to be there, didn't add anything aside from drag the episodes unnecessarily.
Fine. Well, I mean, strong emotions there. I
was really hoping they'll finish off strong. They were on the climb for me. They were on the climb. So I was hoping they'll continue to climb. It didn't do it for me. It did not do it for me.
Okay. Well, I think I definitely share some of your sentiments. I don't know if maybe they're quite as strong as you, but I definitely do share some of your sentiments, especially in regards to the pacing. I did find the pacing of the last 2 episodes incredibly slow, and I think it was worse because, okay, let's be honest, right? Most people watching House of David are watching it because of the moment between David and Goliath, right?
Yes.
And especially because that's how the show started as well.
Yes.
So it already set a...
We were interested because we wanted to see how he's going to end up there, how they're going to... For believers, it was how they're going to narrate the story to end up there.
Yeah.
I can imagine for those that were just interested in the story of David, it was again just seeing it on like a adaptation kind of view,
100%,
and see how the story is going to navigate and unfold and get there. So yes, definitely all of us, we were watching it for that epic moment, for that climax.
And I think to have the 2 episodes named David and Goliath is like, okay, fine, the moment that we've been waiting for is here. And really that moment came in the last 15 minutes?
Those were the last 15 minutes of the show.
Yeah. So
you saw what I mean, like everything else we could have done without.
So I mean, I think it felt worse because we're like, okay, this is what we've been waiting for. And then it's like, this is what we've been waiting for. And then it felt like it just never came.
Got there. It just never got there.
So I definitely understand that. But okay. So let's rein it back a little bit.
Okay.
Let's rein it back a little bit. So ultimately, you say you felt they went the strongest closes to the to the season.
And here's the thing, right? The unfortunate thing is, us watching this story, we can't help, creativity is included. We can't help but compare it to the story that we know.
Of course,
and that's how we're gonna rate it. That's how we're gonna judge it. How well have you told the story of David as per the way it's given to us in the Bible? You know, it's the same thing that Marvels do, for example, because obviously for the longest time I didn't know that comics have existed since who knows what, and most of the movies that we're watching are just adaptations of the comics which are still running. You see what I mean? So those that are really into that world, they'll tell you, but this is not in the comics, you know, but this is this version of the comic and whatnot. And they'll be deemed more knowledgeable because they have that comparison. So I think it's the same for us. Those of us that are biblical believers, we cannot help but do that, especially if you give us something that you are calling, this is House of David of the biblical Bible. And for me, to be honest with you, in terms of that, the second half of the series, they did not do a good job at all in sticking to that story, or rather they did, but the additions did not do anything for the biblical story, I'm afraid to say. And therefore for me, I'm just like, what am I watching? So therefore now I'm agreeing with the people that were saying that actually this is not the David of the Bible you're watching. And unfortunately it's going to be like that. Okay, let me finish my rant off like this. When I turn on films or movies or series about Zeus and whatnot, right? I'm watching that for the epicness, for the, you know, the lightning bolts and the fighting and the fight sequences,
the spectacle.
The spectacle. It means nothing to me because these things are just, they might as well be idols fighting each other. It's made believe, it's fake, it weighs in nothing on me.
Okay.
Yeah. So the excitement comes from the, you know, the cinematic of everything. You know, okay, fine. That was entertaining. Now, this was not that. You see what I mean? The excitement
should
of
it
this,
have been that?
And that's the problem. The problem is that if okay, fine, thank you. You've actually brought me back to my train of thought. If you had made it that, then definitely the critics that are saying that this is not David of the Bible are true.
Well, I mean, is if I understand what you're saying correctly, you're saying something like, let's say a Zeus story or like a God story is interesting because of the epicness of it, if I can put it that way. Here there was no epicness.
So the epicness for me was in how close it stuck to the Bible and how well you told that story. You see, now if you did not stick to that, then well, there's nothing for me there to enjoy. In fact, I found myself thinking at some point that if I had turned on this as, let's say, a demigod of Poseidon or whatever, this devil, whatever, and I'm halfway through watching this, or Troy, for example, I'm turning off. I found myself thinking about, at this point, I'm turning it off.
Are they mutually exclusive though? Is it either biblical accuracy or epicness? Is it too much to ask for both?
No, it's not too much. It's not too much to ask for both.
Because biblical stories are quite epic.
Exactly. Very true. But
I mean, David and Goliath, the battle of David and Goliath it's quite an epic encounter.
It is.
And the little 15 minutes that they brought it to life on screen, I think it's fair to say it had that little spark in it. But I think because of everything that came before it, it was like a bit too little too late. It was almost like too little too late. But I understand what you're saying. I understand the criticism that it's either make it epic or make it accurate. But I don't know if they're mutually exclusive.
Fair enough. I would consider on that. But the accuracy. Okay, so I'll give you an example. Right, I'm a big sucker for speeches, for war cries, for now knowing the story of David, knowing how he articulated himself when he got to the battlefield, I was biting my fingers for that moment, because the way I read it in the Bible, it was epic. It was very rebellious. It was very, you were saying that you regretted that they didn't use the statement, who is this uncircumcised Philistine? That's what I mean. So no, so what I'm trying to say, what I'm articulating there, I'm saying that the parts that are naturally epic, you do them correct, great. right? But even if it's not epic, even if the battle hadn't happened, the epicness can come from like what the first half we were enjoying the series because we were actually seeing, it was actually adding sort of like not gaps but interesting thoughts to how things actually might have been. And that's a kind of epicness in itself. So you can actually watch a drama or a TV show that's got no fight sequences or anything like that, or no supernatural powers or anything like that, but still come out thinking, oh, that was an epic show, because we got fed that from the drama or from the lines and things like that. You see, so that's what I was trying to say in that sense, that even if you take away the epicness, for me, there are so many things in the story of David leading up to this moment that could have still done that, I feel like, if they had done it properly, but I feel like they didn't do it properly. I feel like they didn't do it properly.
Okay, fine. So are there any specific moments from the two episodes that you felt like either let it down or maybe redeeming qualities, maybe?
Redeeming qualities. I can answer on redeeming qualities, because on Let It Down, like I say to you, both episodes 7 and 8 in their whole entirety, except 8 last 20 minutes, for me, I can scrap all that. And I was legit fighting with sleep to just keep up with what was going on. And I'm asking myself, why are we doing this? Last 20 minutes, like I said, right? From the moment that David arrived. Now, from the get-go, we've spoken about that sort of like personality of David that comes out of the Bible, where he was a fearless man. And also not a fearless man in his strength, but in the strength of God. From the time he arrived on the battlefield, every single articulation, except the kissing, could have done without that, but every single interaction with his brothers, with the soldiers, with the king, even with Goliath, everything that they did there, brilliant. And I came to life, and it was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant. And because they stuck to the script, you see.
Yes,
I'm now calling the Bible the script. I apologize, but they stuck to the story.
We know what you mean.
You see, and not only did they stick to the story, but they did it correctly. Because, it made me realize just how different those that are set apart can be or should be. Because it was a very daunting situation watching, and he's walking in to an army of defeated people, and he's like, what the heck is going on here? And then he's hearing taunts like, well, who is that? And he's like, well, hold on, you've all been listening to this? And he's like, it's not about me, it's about the God of heaven. I'm not gonna lie, in my heart, I was like, zoop, that's what we need. And obviously then that takes you to certain special men of God, and you can actually get yourself to reflect yourself in your life and be like, hold on, am I that courageous? Would I be that courageous? You see what I mean? And the things that, and like the other movies that we might indulge with, the Zeus, whatever, it's not about me. It's not about self. It's not about the power is coming from me. No, it's about the God of heaven armies. And I think they did that brilliantly. Honestly, that 20 minutes, do that over and over again with all the other stories in the Bible. Yeah, you've got a fan. I'm a follower. I'll subscribe. I'll follow. I'll even audition to act.
And it's probably an artistic preference anyway, but sometimes I do feel a bit robbed when a show or a movie finishes where it starts. Because for me, it's like, whoa, I've invested all this time and I haven't got any further than where I started.
You've almost seen a whole story as to how they got there.
And that works when it's like a new or fresh story and you don't know the world and you're like, oh, wow, now I know the world.
So you wanted to see how they were then they're going to articulate the aftermath of that. But judging by episode 7 and 8, it was not going to be great. I'm glad they did it. I'm not going to... No, okay. I had nothing else to watch. To their defense, just before we move on to deeper themes and anything else that jumped out at us, I think the structure of TV has been the downfall for many TV shows. Because usually they give you we need an 8-episode season. Usually, if you notice, most new TV shows in the last 3 or 4 years, they always have an 8-episode season and then an 8-episode next season, and then maybe after that they might play around with the season thing. But so in essence, I can imagine when this was pitched to Amazon, or when Amazon decided to pick it up, they said, okay, we need 8 episodes. And unfortunately, that forces the writers to then
come up with a story that takes eight episodes. Because otherwise they could have been like, we can tell this story in 4 epic episodes. But then, because of the business and the commercial of things, like, no, we need 8 episodes. So and I feel like sometimes that does cause a bit of some TV shows to just lose their way a little bit because they're trying to pad the episodes and stuff like that. So maybe I suspect that could be part of the reason, because there were definitely some scenes I'm like, not only do we not need this, we don't need it to be this slow. Like, the people don't need to be speaking this slow. They don't need to be moving this slow. Because because in normal life, people move. We only slow down for important moments, and especially on screen where everything is exaggerated. Everything should be intentional. So if I'm talking like this and then I'm like, you know what? Sometimes, like, I'm doing that for a reason, right? Because I'm communicating.
Not the whole speech. I'm doing that for a reason.
You see, imagine if this whole thing we're talking that slow. People be like, what the hell are you guys doing? so okay, fine. But so then let's move on to any notable moments or any deeper themes that we caught. Now, one of the first ones that jumped out to me was during episode 7.
Yes.
Now, a running thing that has been going on through this series, one that we've spoken about before, is one that fascinates me. Is the exploration of how people move away from God, or how people very unknowingly move away from God, and it doesn't happen in one big thing. It's like a little step,
baby steps.
It's decision after decision after decision before you know it. And I think this is reflected greatly in Saul's wife. But also in Saul himself, because at the beginning you could tell that he was viewing himself as
a servant of God,
an anointed one. But you could see that ego coming in. But it was like, oh yeah, I'm the king that God has chosen. So he was still, I am the king that God has chosen. And that has sort of, you can see that slowly diminish to I am the king that God has chosen. I am the king that God has chosen. I am the king. And I really like the fact that they brought in the witchcraft and stuff as well, because it's about which power are you leaning on, and we're gonna chat about the witchcraft separately in its entirety. But for me, it's about what power are you leaning on, right? Because it's either, and this is true for us as well, as we live, because it's either we rely on the power of God or we rely on our power of our own schemes, devices, powers, or what else it be.
I did not like the witchcraft scene with Goliath and Saul. I think that was not needed.
Goliath and Saul. No, that was Saul having a vision, though, wasn't it?
I don't know if it was he Saul having a vision?
Yeah, that was Saul having a vision.
I don't think that was needed at that place, to be fair with you.
Why not?
I think...
okay, so it's not whether it was needed or not. I guess for you, it's what did it take away what did it take away from the show, or what unnecessary thing did it add?
It added more. It added witchcraft in our face unnecessarily.
Okay, so let's dwell on that a little bit then, because one of the other things that has been brought up and I have heard people talk about is the amount of witchcraft in the series. People find that problematic. Yes, I don't quite agree with that, but I want to hear from you why. Let me put it this way. You watched Doctor Strange and you said never again. I think it was. I think the only reason I stayed is because it was in the cinema. There was a moment where I was like, and if it was just me and my wife, I think I'd have been like, let's go. But I think because it was a group of us, I was like, okay, fine, let me just bear through it.
You're doing it.
But no.
When we spoke about it,
it unsettled my spirit.
The witchcraft was just too much. Yeah. Right now, we know that darkness, Lucifer, devil, witchcraft, media, these are all biblical things. But the reason why that was too much for you, even though these things are real, is like you're saying that what are we exposing ourselves to? Right,
but but for me, it's about the intention behind it as well. Because the
intentions behind Doctor Strange, they were showing the powers of the witch, whoever it's called.
But they weren't deeming it as bad.
But they were not deeming it as good either. I mean, they call it for what it is.
Isn't that how he won the day? By taking on that power and controlling or whatever.
So for you, it's not about viewing it per se. It's just about what message. Why are you giving?
What is the message behind this?
So
what are you showing? What are you trying to say?
So you could watch non-stop, let's say, for example, witchcraft scenes if there are stories where this is bad.
If they were relevant and true to the story, yeah. I mean, don't throw it in for
No.
like you know what I mean.
That's a fair way of answering.
But yeah. If it's relevant to the story, then yeah.
For me, it's so okay. I don't know the writers or the producers of the show. I guess maybe I should have researched them a little bit. I want to believe they're good people.
They're very genuine in their intentions.
Exactly.
From what I've seen. Yeah.
But I still believe, like with most things, I still believe sometimes there still needs to be a bit of control on the negative things that we feed or that we portray. Now, up until now, every single, again, I think this will show my sincerity in what I'm saying, in the sense that at the beginning, I liked that aspect because it was relevant and it was showing us what he was going through at a relevant moment. Now, again, we don't have a recall of or a record of Saul having such a vision at the battlefield, right? So that's a creative liberty that they've taken. You see what I mean? To add that, could it be possible that happened? It could be possible. We don't know. But like what you like to say, it doesn't do neither this or that for the story. So if it doesn't do neither this or that for the story, I'm asking myself, oh, did I really need to see that again? You know, and it wasn't anything different to what we've seen before.
Yeah.
But for some reason, it was just all up in my face. I don't know if it's because Goliath was holding a bow or something, and now I'm like, oh, what are you about to do? He's laughing. I don't know. There's blood everywhere. I don't know. It just shook my blood a little bit. That's all. And so because it did that, now I'm thinking, well, this didn't happen in the Bible. It's a creative liberty. I'm fine with you doing creative liberties, but then I'm asking myself, did I need to see this scene with Goliath? You know, and so did we need that vision? Because by now we've already established the visions that he's having. We know what they are. We get the point. Do I need that? I think for me that was an unnecessary scene.
I mean, fair enough. The good thing about creative works and art, especially series and movies and stuff like that, for me, I'm always a bit gracious when I'm trying to review or talk about it like this, because I appreciate it is artistry, and at the end of the day, the person creating the art has certain liberties to do what is coming from their art inspiration. So something like that, I can understand people saying, well, was that really needed? You know, and I think that's fair enough. However, for me, I wouldn't see it as a negative thing. Because for me, it didn't feel like it took anything away from the story or add anything unnecessary into the story.
Can I ask you a question? Let's talk about sex scenes, for example. So let's say if an adaptation of Solomon and the concubines of David was made, yeah, and we know how graphic it was. It says it was in plain view of the nation and things like that. So let's say there are two adaptations of that story. One shows everything in its entirety, yeah, in the name of producing the story. Another one does it like, you know how they usually do it in a smart way where there's really nothing being shown, but we've gotten the point and then the story moves on. Yeah. As a Christian, you know, man, which one are you promoting, or which one are you saying is the better way of going about it? The one that they do it tastefully. So and the reason for that, and the reason for that, it's not a preference thing. It's a showing too much skin is breaking the standards of God. Okay. Because God Himself has clearly stated that to see certain body parts of certain people who are not your wife or your husband is an abomination in my sight. Okay, fine. So maybe that was an easy example. But I'm taking the same with your let me help you.
Let me help you, right? Because I think what you're trying to say may be a bit more relevant when talking about violence. So we're gonna go into violence a little bit. But just on the witchcraft aspect, I understand what you're saying, but for me, what I understood the writers to be trying to do, or maybe what I got, maybe not what they're trying to do. Well, what I got is, and I think it's an interesting angle that they're trying to show, because long story short, I feel like the message that I got was sometimes the things that taunt us in our everyday lives, the things that we put down to mental health or psychosis or anything else like that. An interesting thought was like, this could just be byproducts of our wandering away from God. Like it's not to say, oh, I did something wrong yesterday and therefore I'm having a psychosis today, but it could be, this could be something from ages ago, and it's just another byproduct, another step of you wandering away from God. And that's what I saw with Saul. So obviously Saul, people can describe his things as, you know, what's the split personality thing? But bipolar or psychosis, schizophrenia, and everything else like that. All his symptoms would fit. But obviously,
off on that then, because I feel like you and I eventually are going to have a very, very big discussion about this, because I feel like sometimes we come at it from different angles.
Okay.
So off of that then, the things that you were seeing, do you, like you're saying that you're seeing them as a process of wandering away from God?
Yeah.
Do you so in that, are you also seeing the influence of, for example, he was sort of like cursed or whatever, or given up to the devil? Are you seeing the dark spirits also like as responsible for that, working in that, giving him those visions, or are they a making of his own, like people have been saying these days, that it's not always about it's a spiritual warfare. Sometimes it's because you've done ABCD, separating spiritual warfare from mankind. So when you're saying that it's a wandering away, what are you saying about the spiritual aspect of it, where people could be actually possessed by that spirit that is showing him those visions of nightmares, 100%. Whatever?
It is the work of darkness, but that's because God has given you up to it.
Brilliant. Okay, fine.
Fine. Yeah.
No,
so
I feel like
you no longer have the protection of God.
Exactly.
Therefore, you're now subject
it's like what God said in Romans, that He then gave them up to their lust.
Exactly.
So when God has done that, there's now sort of like no morality in you. You will go as far as your sin can take you.
Yeah.
You see, and that sin would spirits are in there because they will keep enticing you or taking you further and further and further and further away.
100%.
You know, if it's temptation, you go further and further and further away. Before you know it, you are the owner of a big orgy company, whatever. In
orgy or
orgies, yeah. I'm innocent in these things. I don't know. It's a new word.
No, the thing is,
what do you mean? No,
you just said it the way it's spelled, because it is spelled orgy. So you just said it the way it's spelled, yeah, or orgy, yeah. Okay, fine. Okay, fine. Well, let's move on to the aspect of violence then, because again, this is another aspect that I've heard people take issue with. I think with the show, saying, and they're saying it's too violent. Again, I don't know if I agree with that.
Yeah, well, on that one I wouldn't agree. And I think it's quite interesting, because I think it does go to what you've just said, that it's about preference now. Yeah. And tolerance, maybe. Yes. Some of us that are saying it's not too far. Is it because we've been exposed to violence for a very long time, and now our sort of like level is a bit too much than what it should be?
Be that as it may, if you read the Bible is not a non-violent book. The Bible is very violent, and it gets very descriptive with some of the violence in there. I think one of the stories that always wowed us out is when the one of the people,
concubine.
You got chopped up, and the Bible is not a children's book the way that we understand children's book. Now, do I mean that you can do anything and everything, put on screen, show everything, whatever? So no, let me throw 100%. There's always a tasteful way of doing it. And I think the House of David did a very good way at guiding that line, because it was graphic enough for you to understand that, oh, okay, this is war, this is battle, people are dying, lives at stake, whatever, but not too much that it's like, it's like, whoa, that's too much. We didn't see that. Like, even when Goliath's head got chopped off, like, you didn't really see anything, but you saw his head being chopped off. Does that make sense? So I think when it comes to the violence aspect of it, I do think it is a matter of preference. I think even within Christian entertainment or Christian shows or Christian-born artistic things, there are genres that exist. They are, some people will be more drawn to the romance side of things and whatnot. That's great. Look at Jacob and Leah. Look at Joseph. Look at Song of Solomon, whatever. Those would be their kind of stories. Some people would be more war people. That's fine. Give us David. Give us Joshua. Give us, give us the warriors of the Bible. That's also fine. You see, and I think that's a matter of preference. So I'm not saying it's not a valid complaint. I think it's just not enough to say no, don't watch this show because it's too violent. I don't think so.
Do you think we can get a consensus to like a majority agreement on what's too much violence or not too much violence for a Christian? Because if we say because as you were talking, my mind started flashing back through the series, and I'm inclined to agree with you 100%. I can't see what you can say was too much about that. Even the final so-called battle, all we got was Jonathan and the assassins fighting for a little bit. That's it, really. What else did we see? Apart from David himself and that little fight scene, which was, again, not much you're seeing because it was a bit dark and whatnot. We got the point. We didn't really get too much fighting at all. So, and then the last fight scene that we got, I think, was when David and the brother went to that thing, and then you saw what I mean. And So the reason I'm asking that is because I think, looking at it objectively, whether we're exposed to violence or not, what exactly are you going to be saying was too much about that?
No. Well, I mean, on that note, if someone is not used to watching violent things, so if all they ever watch is gay, they're singing, or maybe they don't watch TV at all because for them they've decided, where I'm leading, where I'm going. There's nothing good on TV, whatever.
Sure they've seen people fighting in Tesco's.
Well, yeah, but then
they've seen a bit of blood and a bit of tooth.
But then in real life, we condemn those kind of actions. You don't see someone fighting Tesco's and go, "Woo, yeah, go on, take their head off."
That's kind of violent. That's a very violent person.
You see, so I do understand if someone is not used to watching stuff like that, it can be a bit
too much for them. It can be too much for them. It can be unsettling. Doesn't mean that it was too much. So
I mean, the question of
we can actually say to the Christendom at mass that as far as we're concerned, House of David, the violence in there is suitable for Christians.
I think so. And with everything, there is always a parents have to make decisions as to whether everything is suitable for their children or not.
When it comes to children, it's a different market. We're talking about mature Christians here.
Well, I don't know if people were saying that in the context of children, because maybe House of David Bible story, let the children watch it. But even so, I don't think I'd have an issue with my 7-year-old watching House of David.
I don't think so.
But then, mind you, my 7-year-old will be a warrior. But because I'm thinking
the push-ups every morning.
Yeah, if I had, But anyway, in any case, I think it's fair enough. I think the only point on that would be, it's a matter of preference. I think it's a matter of taste. It's a matter of what can you tolerate. And one thing I agree with, and what I always say, is that if you feel like you can't tolerate something, if you feel like something is too much, if something unsettles you, just stop. I don't think the point is to be like, oh no, keep watching. No. If you're watching something, you're like, hey, doesn't feel good for me.
You stop.
Like
I almost stopped watching House of David because of the boring scenes. I'm joking.
Okay. So I mean, another thing that did catch my eye, especially in this 7th episode, was when Paul. Sorry,
Samuel.
Yeah.
Because Paul was Saul.
And that's why I got my wires crossed. When Samuel was talking to David, telling him the story of Joshua, and he was saying, Joshua asked, "Are you for us or against us?" And he said, "That's the wrong question." Because we humans sometimes always think, "Oh, is God for us or against us?"
Remember, that's the mentality that the disciples had as well when Christ had come. Is it now that you're going to establish the kingdom?
Yeah. And the point Samuel made was, that's the wrong question. The question we should be asking is, are we with God? Right?
Because if God wants you to lose, you need to be ready for you to lose.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I just think it was a very... It was a line that stood out to me, and I was like, that's definitely something true that we as Christians should be thinking about.
And I'll tell you why. I'll tell you how that is very, very important, because even in our Christian walk, it's all about, I've got God on my side. We go first, God follows us and supports our plans. But that's the wrong method. The method is that we follow Christ. Yeah. Pick up your cross and follow me. So it's about what Christ wants. It's about, that's I don't even like that language, but I'll use that language for now. It's about what Christ wants. It's about where Christ is going, and we are following his footsteps. That's why the Bible says that is he even laid out the what is it, the steps, I think it's Romans, whatever, of what we've got to do, and we just fulfill them kind of thing, And that's why I said, anything you ask in my name. It's all about us making sure that we are in Christ or following Christ, you know. So that's really important, because we can even bring that to our everyday life, even today, make it applicable to today. It's not just about people going to war or anything like that, like, oh, are we on God's side? No,
100%.
It's a bigger message there.
And I think that's why it stood out to me, because it is something that is relevant beyond wars and, you know, conflict
moments.
and stuff like that. It's just a general, because, you know, humans, we make plans, you know, many are the plans of man. And the Bible never says it's wrong to make plans. In fact, it encourages us to make plans. But the point is, we have to understand that it's not for us to make plans and then say, God, be with my plan. It is for us to be in the Spirit, to be with God, to have the heart of God, so that every plan we do make, it is getting us closer to where God wants us to be.
So that we know the plan God has for us.
This is a different discussion, but no, I don't like that. But that's a different discussion. That's
because you have to be in control.
After everything I've said, that's the conclusion you'd reach.
No. I'm just asking based off of that. I don't like that aspect.
No. I don't like that, because remember what I was saying about the two viewpoints. You've got God's viewpoint and you've got our viewpoint. But don't worry, we're not gonna get into that, because I'll take us somewhere else. If you're interested in that conversation, we will have it eventually. Definitely press the subscribe button, so that when we do have it, you can hear what I'm trying to say and you can let me know how much you disagree with it. Okie dokie. All right, fine. So all in all then, episode 7, I gave episode 7 a bit more grace, because I was like, okay, fine. It's leading up to the big episode. So even though I did find it a bit slow, I did find it a bit, and there were times where I did think, if we hadn't started watching these and talking about them, I don't know if I would be watching it in my actual spare time, like a show just to be watching and enjoying. I don't know.
My thoughts exactly. Yeah.
But I gave episode 7 grace. Episode 8 came around, and really episode 8 were the last 20 minutes. And obviously bits and bobs during the story, obviously that make everything connect. But there was a lot of fluff that for me I didn't feel like was necessary.
We did not need to know the backstory of the giants. At first, I liked.
Having said that,
I liked the fact that, because I don't think Philistine had giants for sure. So I'm not too sure. I'd have to fact check. But I did like the fact that, you know, sort of like showing us how the giants got involved and things like that. But I feel like they dwelled on them too much.
Dwell on them too much, maybe. I mean, you're going back to episode 6, Giants Awaken, and I must say that is episode 6. Yeah, but I must say that's probably one of the episodes I've enjoyed the most. And I think for me, this leads on to my next point, because ever since we started talking about this, I feel like I've had a conflict in my mind, and I've been trying to make sense of why that conflict exists. And I think I found the answer.
What's the answer?
I'll get to it shortly. But
always cliffhangers.
But the reason why I liked episode 6, Giants Awaken, because I feel like it was the first time during the show where I could just suspend belief and watch the show for what it was.
And that was my problem. So yes, I agree with you 100%.
And the reason that was is because it
was all creative liberty.
It wasn't dealing with anything that was of consequence to the biblical story.
We might as well have been watching the Son of Zeus.
Well, I mean, no, I don't agree with that, but I know what you're saying that. But okay, so now to my point as to the resolution of my conflict. I think the issue why shows like these are destined to maybe not fail, but to cause controversy within the Christendom is because where we take creative liberties with big figures of the Bible who are pivotal to the Christian faith, you always have people taking issue with that, right? So whether it's David, Jesus, Moses, you know, whatever, there will always be, and I understand it, because I think someone made a good point to say, why are we putting words in people that the Bible never gives us? And I understand that I can argue this, creative liberty, blah, 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 blah.
We can say whatever we want to say, do whatever we want to do.
So here's my solution.
It's not of no consequence.
So here's my solution. And I really hope you potential Christian movie makers and writers are listening, because I think this is a good compromise, and I think this is great. We tell biblical stories, or rather, we tell stories using peripheral biblical characters, right? So, for example, let's say take the story of David. Now, imagine telling the story of David, but from Jonathan's point of view. Where the story is about Jonathan, we're following the life of Jonathan, but then obviously we know Jonathan has an encounter with David. So David shows up and whatever, but then we can limit those moments to what the Bible gives us. Does that make sense? So the moments where David comes in, we can limit to what the Bible gives us. Everything else aside from that,
We can do whatever we want.
creative liberties. And the good thing about stories is the human experience is one. We all go through the same thing. We all experience the same things. So the stories we tell will always be similar. Heartbreak, courage, relationships, marriage, the stories we tell. So it's not far-fetched to imagine that Jonathan would have had a human experience. Like we have a human experience.
You would have fallen in love, maybe.
You see, so it's another one I was thinking is like
Had a child out of wedlock.
So for example, that the other one I was thinking of is like, let's say Zacchaeus, for example. Zacchaeus is there for what? A few verses? Take him, tell a story of Zacchaeus. But then eventually he has an encounter of Jesus. How does that change his life? What does it do after that? You see, for me, I was like, there's a world we can explore where it's just, and I feel like it's going to free up creatives as well, because now you're not trying to stick to the source material. You're like, oh, I can't get this wrong. What am I going to do? It's like...
But do you know, okay, so the question I want to ask is, don't you think with those kind of creatives, there would be an issue if we claim or if the writers connect them to biblical characters?
Why? Or rather, what's the issue that you potentially see?
The same critics that are saying that you're putting words will say that you're creating stories that would never existed, therefore you're confusing, or you could be completely wrong and confusing things that never existed.
And I like that, because the reason I like that is because if you make that clear distinction between taking characters that appear just for a moment in the story and then we never hear anything about them, there is no way that those stories can then find themselves either on the pulpit or in the church or in the same discussion as biblical stories. Because now
we'll get them.
But because now with things like House of David and like the Moses series on Netflix or whatever. And this is not bad because humans are visual things. But if I'm trying to preach a message or trying to convey something, I can just show you a quick clip on House of David that will communicate what I'm trying to say a lot. But you see,
and alas,
do you see
the devil as well? Now we're showing movies than the pulpit.
Exactly. But then, if we make that clear distinction, then there is no reason for you to be quoting the story of Zacchaeus because that's never given in the Bible. The only time we see is he's up on a tree. Zacchaeus, come down. I'll go to your house to eat. That can be what?
No. Fair enough. I do get that. Yeah. I think for me, what I would say is, you know that the angle of the Marvels that says what if, I think it's the what ifs or alternatives or whatever. I think if you were to do a clear disclaimer, this is the story of Zacchaeus, not given to us as biblical because we're not given anything in the Bible.
Yeah.
But imagine this could have been Zacchaeus' story.
No.
Boom.
The thing is, it's not even this could have. Yes, it could have been. But the point is, we're doing storytelling, but with Christian messages and themes and encouragement and whatnot. So every story we watch, every movie, every series, there is an agenda behind that. When the writer is writing, he's trying to communicate something.
Story, inspire, motivate.
Exactly. Whatever story they're trying to tell.
Confusion.
We can do the very same thing, but coming from a Christian worldview.
No, fair enough.
Listen,
it's a good idea. I'm sold. I'll watch as long as you make it epic enough. As long as there's supernatural powers in there.
And you're a hard buy, so the fact that you're bored, listen, I think it's a good idea. I think it's a good idea.
Because like I said, you can do anything with that, and it will have of no consequence to the story of the Bible.
Yeah,
it's almost like when series do like you remember there's always this canon and something. I don't know.
Canon and non-canon. Yeah.
So it's almost like that. It's like, yo, guys.
Exactly. It's like non-canon. Yeah, exactly.
That's the story. If you want the actual story, you know where to go.
Yes.
Let's have a little bit of fun here. But even that little bit of fun is still from a Christian point of view, so we're not gonna have debaucheries or anything like that.
No, exactly. That's my point.
Still, the message is still, of a person that got converted, and if it's so, then we're gonna have to make sure that he's persecuting like he was supposed to be persecuting. Otherwise, where's the conversion?
No. Yeah, well, I think it opens up a whole new world of storytelling. and I think that's the conflict I was having in my head, because I do understand that if you take Jesus and then you want to make a series like The Chosen, as much as I enjoyed the first season, I do understand that, yes, a lot of what he's saying is not in the Bible. And sometimes you're like, oh, that's a really nice quote Jesus said. And then you're like, oh, you know, Jesus said.
Oh,
I don't know.
On The Chosen.
Sorry, the writers of the
sit down. You have no message today.
Okay, in any case then, rating. So we're going to do episode 7 and 8 as one rating. So if you had to pop a rating on them, then what would you say?
If I have to go based on my actual true feelings, we're talking about below 5, below 4, maybe even a 3. I'm not going to lie to you. But I did enjoy the last 20 minutes. And I genuinely feel like they did do justice, the way it was portrayed and everything. I don't know about David being stabbed with a spear and being on the floor and then getting up. Don't know about that, but it was epic enough.
Do you think that was a callback to, was it his right or left thing? His right or left? It was
his right. It was his right, I think.
The one that he got when Jesus on the cross.
I don't know. It could have been.
I'm just trying to remember what the side was. But when I saw,
it was his right side.
When I saw that, I thought that was maybe what they were thinking. But
I don't know about that, but I still enjoyed it. So because of that, I think it would take it up to a 6. I think it's 6.5. Yeah. Okay.
All right, fair enough. No, I think I would also agree. I also put it at a 6. I was thinking, should I be generous and put 6.5? Because I think I do understand what they were trying to do.
And I think that's the difference, because I don't. Because I really don't.
I think because I'm trying to give it grace, because from a creative point of view, I'm like, okay, I see maybe what you're trying to do here, whatever. And especially if they're thinking of second season, third season, whatever, you want to build the characters properly, adequately. And sometimes, you know, something that's going to be epic in season 3 is only epic because you've had it from so season 1, because of that, because of that, I'll give it the 6. That I would say, okay, it's definitely above average. I appreciate what they're trying to do. Let's see where it goes. But above 6. If there was no possibility of second season, if let's say,
so there is a possibility of second season, then
I would imagine that's their intention. I would imagine, especially where it ended as well. And it's called House of David. It's not David v Goliath. It's House of David. That is true. So they could follow the whole of David's life. And if it's really successful, they could even move on to Solomon if they wanted to. Really, it's still the House of David, isn't it? But we'll see. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that's what of POV think. We think a lot, as you can see. We've doubled here and there and everywhere. We think the themes that were discussed in the show were interesting. We think the witchcraft, yes, it had its place. Pronic thinks it went a bit too far. I wasn't too bothered by it, and I am usually bothered by witchcraft. You can ask Pronic, if something has witchcraft in, my first answer is no. I have to be convinced to give it a chance. The violence, I think we've said we're okay with the violence.
It was fine.
We're okay, but it could just be a preference thing. You let us know if you thought it was a bit too much. Overall, we watched it. Would I watch it again outside of this context? Probably not. I don't think it's my type of show. Like you said, I think maybe we're just missing a little bit more excitement. But
more this.
Yeah.
So what are we trying to say about the Christian content then?
No. Listen, look at where we've come from and look at where we are. So I'm hopeful. Because we have come from a place where all Christian content was a bit corny, a bit preachy, a bit, like that's not realistic, why not? True. And we've come to where we are now of the House of David. That's when we watched.
I tried watching Samson the other day. Got 2 minutes into it. I'm like, what am I?
That's probably one of the old ones, though, isn't it? Or is this the Black Samson?
No. I didn't even know there was a Black Samson.
Yeah. There was one where the Samson was black and he had locks. I don't know if it's out or if it was a trailer, but I think it's out. I think it's been out for a couple of years. But I
2 minutes in, I'm like, what the heck is going on? I was like, okay.
Yeah. So
are we promising?
I do think it's going.
Season 2.
If season 2 airs, since we've started, I think we will do the normal thing and watch it on your behalf. if nothing else, just to tell you, don't bother.
So what are we telling them about season 1 then? Watch it or don't bother?
I would say if there is anyone out there who's thinking, to be fair, if anyone's listened to up to this point, they probably have watched it, because otherwise we've given a lot of spoilers.
No, but that's how they're watching it. You know what? I didn't watch it, but I heard a conversation of POV.
Yeah, to be fair, some people do that. It boggles my mind. But I would say if you're someone in two minds, should I watch it? Should I not? And you're trying to find out whether it's worth your time or not, I would say production is fine, writing is fine. I think the creators and writers of this show did a good job. I would just say, if you're in 2 months, don't waste your time. Oh, don't waste your time. That's harsh. I'm trying not to be harsh. If you're in 2 minds, don't worry about it. You're not missing too much. If it's something like
watch the last 20 minutes of episode 8, you're gonna enjoy that.
If you're thinking, I've been meaning to watch it, I just wanted to see what people thought, definitely give it a watch, and then you can let us know what eyes you view it through. But I think the only reason I'm being hesitant is because I listened to a few chats with the creators, and I know their intentions are genuine, and I know they're trying to put out the best content out there, and props to them. For us as viewers, I think it just felt a little bit flat, and that's fair enough. That's allowed. You know, we're trying to be
maybe season 2 they'll pick it up, and then once we watch that, we'll let you know. Go watch season 1 first, and then come to season 2, because you're gonna need to know season 1.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Chin. This is Nick. This is Offbeat POV. That's been our review and rundown of the House of David series. That's what we think. That's what we feel. The rest is up to you. You let us know. Confabulate in the comments below. And until next time, ladies and gents, bye.